Some in the media apparently have a different take on this chaos. Here is how a guest on CNN categorized the situation.
There's a real blurring of the lines in the use of the word violence. You keep using these words, violent, 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 and it gives the impression, I mean, the only violence or the only acts of violence against people that I saw were actually police tackling protesters.
Independent Women's Forum senior fellow Patrice Onwuka joins us now. Patrice, that guest went on to say, is property destruction violence, ? To some people it is. What's your reaction on the whole to those comments?
Oh, good morning, and thanks for having me. It's ridiculous. Unfortunately, this is what the left, particularly media journalists like this gentleman, did. You know, they're trying to excuse the violent thuggery of groups like Antifa, Jane's Revenge, because you know what? Those groups are doing the dirty work that a lot of progressives want to be done, but don't want to have their hands on it. I mean, when you're targeting crisis pregnancy centers, when you're targeting police, areas where police training centers that are being developed, I thought the point of police reform efforts were so that police could be better trained to de-escalate violent situations. Yet these groups, they are very much after one thing, which is to seed chaos by ensuring those people who keep us safe are no longer able to do that.
Yeah, you also say that crime and public safety are an Achilles heel for the left. And now you have Nancy Pelosi coming out and saying one of the reasons Democrats lost the House is because New York Democrats didn't take crime seriously enough.
Well, absolutely. I mean, a lot of what we heard is that crime is a perception problem, particularly perpetrated on certain networks, when in fact everyday people are in New York City and across the country are worried about the randomness of violent acts, whether it's, being carjacked here in Washington, D.C., or whether it's, being pushed on a train rail when you're taking mass transit in New York. So, the left realizes they turned a blind eye during the 2022 election cycles to crime and turn to healthcare, turn to everything else. But people recognize that there is a problem, and you can't cherry pick the statistics to support an anti-rising violence narrative when, in fact, people see their local news every day and recognize what's going on in their very own neighborhoods.
Yeah. Meantime, Patrice, Vice President Kamala Harris quoting the Declaration of Independence during her pro-abortion remarks yesterday. But listen closely. She conveniently leaves out one important word.
America is a promise. It is a promise of freedom and liberty, a promise we made in the Declaration of Independence, that we are each endowed with the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
What happened to life, Patrice?
Oh, it's a terrible omission on her part. That was not a moment of forgetfulness. Let's be clear here. There is no right to pursuit of happiness or freedom without the inalienable God-given right to life. That's the bottom line. Unfortunately, the left, including Vice President Harris, cannot give on the word life because it undercuts their entire argument around abortion. And it supports the idea that, yes, there is a pro-life. And I'm speaking as an individual. I'm speaking as a mom who's delivered 2 baby boys through this body. I recognize, and women across the country recognize this. But what the Vice President did yesterday, she gave a stump speech for 2024. And she's trying to keep up the momentum among female voters about abortion and abortion changes in this country, because that is the only issue they think that they can win on.
Yeah, it's just so strange that whoever wrote this speech, if she didn't pick these remarks herself, would even choose that quote and then take the word life out of one of the most notable and important quotes that this country has. Everybody knows life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And she made these comments to commemorate what would have been the 50th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. So it almost seems like an admission. It seems like she just made a pro-life argument, and she didn't even mean to. Patrice, got to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.